The 3 most terrifying places on Earth. Number 1, you're on a crashing airplane. Number 2, stranded in the middle of the ocean. And number 3, in a school lockdown in America. And today, we are checking out the most horrifying school lockdown stories of all time.
Dr. Nicely.
The PA system crackled to life on a Thursday during second period in my junior year of high school. The familiar tones of the recorded voice filled my classroom.
Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight.
The words kept repeating as Mrs. Danbury paused at the board and looked up at the speaker in the corner of the room. "Okay, you all know what to do," she said, rushing toward the classroom door to shut and lock it. Nervous chatter went up among the students as we wrote.
Now that's kind of cat because we practice lockdowns. Well, not anymore. I'm 20. I don't want that to come off weird. I don't still practice lockdowns. I don't go to school. Don't make it weird, okay?
Rose from our desks and moved into position against the wall. "Is this real?" my friend Colin asked as we sat on the floor with our backs to the wall.
What a stupid question, though. How the heck are you supposed to know, bro?
"Hey."
Must be, he said. Okay.
They'd tell us if it was just a drill.
That's not true.
The sound of helicopter rotors was faintly audible over the recorded voice of the lockdown alert.
Okay, sorry to keep pausing it, but that part would make it scary. If I heard helicopters, that's when I'd be like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. You're taking this a little too serious for it to just be a drill. But they never tell you when the lockdowns happen anyway.
And the noise grew louder as we sat there in the dark classroom. After a few moments, it sounded like the helicopter was right over the school. A full minute passed before the helicopter moved again, the noise making it sound like it was going in circles above the campus.
That is pretty creepy.
A loud bang, like a door flying open, sounded outside.
No.
Someone yelled in the hall, a sound that was quickly replaced by automatic gunfire. I slammed my hands over my ears, along with many other students. Some of the girls, and even a few of the boys, covered their mouths as they cried out softly. More gunfire erupted out in the hallway. It sounded as if there were 4 or 5 guns firing.
What? 4 or 5 guns? How many people broke into this school? Normally, whenever someone breaks in, it's one person. It's one person. This is insane to have like a whole group of people breaking in with presumably like entire assault rifles. Like not even like a little gun. Like they got big old guns. What is going on here?
Human screeching sound pierced the air, making my eyes go wide. I looked over at Mrs. Danbury, whose face was drained of all color. She was the nearest to the door, the nearest to whatever the hell was going on in the hallway.
They gotta barricade
The
that
gunfire
door.
stopped, and I heard a man shout and then scream. His wail of pain stopped abruptly with a loud, crashing bang. I didn't have to see it to know that he'd been thrown into the lockers lining the hallway. The metallic bang was enough to tell me that. More gunfire sounded outside.
It's like,
and
it
then
sounds like
more
a
screaming.
war.
Then there was silence. For several seconds, we all listened hard for anything outside. The recorded voice was still going, and the helicopter was still faintly audible. The sound of running footsteps suddenly came to us from the hall. The footsteps stopped abruptly,
No.
and a terrible scream erupted just before the door to our classroom smashed in. A SWAT officer flew backward into the room and slammed into Mrs. Danbury's desk.
There's no way this is real, bro. A SWAT officer just got cooked by somebody and went flying through a door? Like, this is a Stranger Things scene. That's not real. That doesn't happen.
Which slid several feet from the impact. Cries of fear came from the students around me as they saw the soldier was missing an arm. He'd hit the
No,
desk
bro.
with his mid-back and had come to rest at an angle that told us his spine was broken. Once the soldier came to rest, there was only silence from the hall.
This actually is like Stranger Things. This has to be some Stranger Things creature. There's no way. Because if you get shot, your arm doesn't get blown off. It just like a hole goes through it. And your spine doesn't just like break. Are they being attacked by like gorillas right now? What is going on?
It went on for long enough that I was starting to think the danger had passed. Mrs. Danbury apparently thought the same thing because she crawled toward the doorway where the smashed door was hanging open. I don't know what she was trying to do, but as soon as I saw her move toward the doorway, I wanted to tell her to stop. Still,
No.
I made no sound for fear of attracting whatever was outside, if there was anything there at all. She peeked her head around the door jamb to peer into the hall. Her left hand came up to her mouth as if trying to keep herself from getting sick. She stood up and turned around to face us. "Okay, we need to move to another classroom," she said.
That's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea, bro. First of all, in any lockdown, they always tell you don't move from where you are. Even if you're in the bathroom, stay in the bathroom, lock it. Don't move. Do not go in the hallway. That's the worst place that you could possibly go is the hallway. Number 2, the door has already been broken down, meaning clearly people have already been in there and like done their thing. So if you are the aggravator, if you're the person there that's trying to do harm to people, you're not going to go into a room that already looks like it's been busted up because then you're assuming, oh, people in there are already dead or gone. So it's actually a 200 IQ place to hide. But going into the hallway might be the dumbest thing possible. What are we doing?
Paul looks. A long, blistered, red and black arm with a claw-like hand darted down from the ceiling outside the doorway and grabbed Mrs. Danbury by the neck, stopping her words. It yanked her out of the classroom before any of us knew what was happening. We heard a scream and a thunk from outside. Then Mrs. Danbury appeared in the doorway again, only she didn't have any arms. Blood spewed from her massive wounds as she stepped into the room, looking back over her shoulder with a dazed look on her face. What she saw there snapped her out of it, and she started running toward the wall of windows opposite the doorway. Fountains of blood poured out of her as she ran past her desk, screaming. A monstrous, scarred figure that looked like a badly burned mix between a bear and a baboon darted through the doorway after our teacher.
I was like kind of right, actually.
Smashing into Mrs. Danbury just as she reached the window. The two of them tumbled out, falling to the ground just a few feet below. My teacher screamed once more outside before her vocalization stopped with a terrible ripping sound. All of us students stayed frozen against the wall, staring at the broken window, waiting for the thing to come back in. We should have run, but we didn't.
See, now is where I would run, because that animal is gonna go back into the window where it just launched out from, and this is your only chance to get out of that room while that thing's gone.
It was all too much for us. Eventually, the gruesome sounds from outside stopped, but none of us were willing to risk standing up and moving toward the window to see what was happening. Not long after those noises stopped, we heard a flurry of gunshots from far off, likely off the high school campus. Hearing those faraway shots snapped me out of shock. I stood up and moved slowly to the doorway. I looked out to see the hallway littered with dismembered bodies. There was blood all over the place.
My
God,
God,
a man
bro.
with a smashed head lay below a huge and bloody dent in several of the lockers across the hall. A few other guys.
We're not walking though. What are we doing walking around? This video is gonna make me crash out, bro. Like, you just watched so many people die. Your teacher got thrown out the window and you're gonna walk to another classroom? How are you not sprinting? Doesn't even matter if you don't know where you're going, just run, bro. There's no way we're walking.
We headed toward the evacuation spot and were about halfway there when we ran into more police coming into the school. They took us to safety.
You did not run.
We
You
were
walked.
told it was an escaped animal from the zoo. That's even what they said on the news that night. They said it was a bear, but I know what I saw. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't any animal I've ever seen. And the fact that there's a military research base not far from our school is just too much of a coincidence. But those of us who were in that classroom that day are smart enough to keep our mouths shut. But we know the truth. We'll always know the truth. Story 2.
Wait a minute, hang on though. This is pretty fun. I wasn't expecting like anomalous creatures and extra dimensional entities and literally anything to be able to happen in this. Low key, that makes it more fun because we've reacted to a couple of other lockdown stories and they are fun to watch, I can't lie. But they're they're all relatively the same story. A little bit different pieces here and there, but this is an entire curveball. I have no idea what is about to happen. And this story number 2 is called Dead All Day. That'd be a really cool nickname. I like that, actually. I might start calling myself that.
Dead all day. Before the lockdown even started, I knew something weird was going on, and I wasn't the only one. It was my senior year, and I had a pretty easy schedule. It was spring, and I could see the end of high school on the horizon. But that day, a Tuesday, my concerns turned from the mundane to the insane. At first, I shrugged off the strange feelings I had. I thought the teachers were just having an off day. Or maybe it was me who was having the off day. I told myself to forget about it until lunch came around, and I went off campus to get a burger with my buddy Tom.
What school allows you to go somewhere else to get lunch? Is that a thing? My school would never let you do that. Are you kidding me? Because like the school should be responsible for you for that entire day. When your parents drop you off at school, it's your school's responsibility to get them back home safe. If you allow the kids to leave campus for lunch, bro, would the school not be held accountable for that? I don't know, but either way, I have a sneaky suspicion that when they get back to school, the school will then be on lockdown and something bad is going to happen. These two guys are going to have to maneuver their way through the school while whatever's going down is going down. This could get interesting. Strap in, fellas. This could get cool.
What's up with the teachers today? Tom asked as we sat in the fast food
Oh, so it wasn't just him.
waiting to pay and get our food. I turned, surprised at Tom, who was usually about as observant as an octogenarian with failing eyesight.
Now, the reason I said it's not just him that noticed that too is because at first I was like, bro, who cares? Oh, you're having a bad day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares, move on. But if his friend is also seeing the same things that he's seeing, the teachers must know something that the students were not told.
You noticed that too? I asked. Yeah, man. They're acting really strange. Mr. Bemis was just staring at me during first period. His eyes were all wide and blank. It was creepy as hell. Then during second period, Miss Delia forgot how to spell the word algebra. She just stood there at the board, her hand up,
An idiot.
with the A and the L written. I swear, she stood there for a full minute before Courtney Miller asked her if she was all right. It was weird. Maybe they all got together and smoked a blunt this morning or something. I laughed at that, thinking about the teachers hotboxing one of their minivans. But the laughter didn't last long. Tom was right. Something funny was going on. Yeah, Mr. Liu walked super slowly up and down the aisles while we were taking a test today, I said. He never does that. He always sits at his desk and reads or something while we take tests. And how slow he was walking? You'd have to try really hard to walk that slowly. Plus, I caught a whiff of him as he walked by one time. He stank. He was wearing cologne or something, but I could smell something nasty underneath it. You know what? Tom said. That made me remember something. You know how Miss Delia is always so prim and proper? She's a neat freak, right? I nodded.
She
I had
stank
Delia in one of
too.
my afternoon classes. Well, Tom continued, she looked kind of sloppy in class today. Her hair was frizzy, her makeup a little, I don't know, sloppy or something. It didn't connect until you said that about Mr. Liu stinking. Our conversation stopped as I pulled up to the drive-thru window to complete the transaction. Then I drove to a nearby park where we sat on the hood of my Camry and ate.
Bro, if I could get McDonald's at school on our lunch break, I would be at least 30 pounds heavier than I am now. That would be a real problem.
Enjoying the spring day. We got back to school just in time for class and went our separate ways. About 20 minutes into class, the lockdown started. I was in Mrs. Santiago's class when the alarm went off. Mrs. Santiago smiled, as if she'd been expecting it, which made me think it was just a drill.
No, bro. The teachers, no. There's something wrong with the teachers, clearly.
Every other time they'd done a drill, they'd told us beforehand. All right, class, Mrs. Santiago said. We're doing something a little different today. Half of you are going to stay here in the classroom like a normal lockdown drill. The other half will follow me to another location. It's something new. We're trying to see how it works. I looked around, furrowing my brow. I didn't see the logic in it. Why would half of us leave the classroom to go somewhere else if there was a threat out there?
This is one of those moments that's like, do you trust your own intuition or do you do what your authority says to do? And it's a real problem because it happens all the time, every single day in the workplace, I'm sure, where there's, for example, an employee who has a really good idea and their boss is telling them to do something different. And they're probably like, that makes no sense at all. But at the end of the day, the employee does what the senior tells them to do because if not, they get fired. In this case, if the students don't do what their teacher tells them to do, they're gonna get in trouble. Maybe they'll get put in detention, suspended, expelled. I don't know. Point being, it's like they're caught in a weird position where they know what the right thing to do is, which is what they've been taught forever, which is to do the normal lockdown. But if they don't listen to the teacher telling them to do the stupid thing, they're gonna get in trouble. If I'm being honest, I would probably do what the teacher told me to do because I would have trust in them, elders. But at the same time, it's like, you know something's wrong. I don't know. It's a really weird position to be in. I think I would still follow the teacher though.
A few other kids in the class seemed to share my concern, but most of them didn't care. They were simply willing to do what the teacher said. I waited for more information from Mrs. Santiago, but she didn't do anything for several minutes. After turning the lights off and locking the door, she just stood at the front of the classroom.
Wait, what?
Hands clasped behind her back, looking at us with a small smile on her lips.
Nah, bro, what?
Finally, just when I was about to ask her what was going on,
I can't lie. I know it's about to get real weird. I've always wanted to fight another person. I'm not sure why I've always had that. And don't clip this and use it against me in court. I'm totally kidding. But I've always wanted to just rock one in the head just to see what would happen. This is a joke. This is all legend. It's all hypothetical. But this would be a fantastic opportunity to stand up and just clock Miss San Antonio in the jaw.
she split the class in half down the middle, telling those of us on the left side to come with her, and those on the
Oh my
right
God, he's on
to
the
stay
left.
in the classroom. I stood and lined up with the other kids on the left, while those on the right got against the wall. We followed Mrs. Santiago out of the classroom, taking a right. I was 3 kids behind her, peering around them to watch her,
She's 4.
thinking about the strange ways teachers had been acting. She was in her 50s, with hair that had mostly gone from black to gray. She wore a floral print dress with frilly short sleeves. As we walked down the hall, I saw a drop of blood roll down the back of her arm from under the sleeve. It stopped just above her elbow. A bad feeling seated itself in my stomach as we reached the doors to the gym. Mrs. Santiago stepped aside and opened one of them to usher us inside. It was dark inside the gym because all the lights were off. As soon as I walked through the door, I stepped aside while the other kids walked past me into the darkness. I could hear some of them murmuring. They knew something was wrong. One of the students pulled out a phone and turned on the flashlight. The illumination revealed other people in the gym, teachers, just standing there in the dark on either side of the doors, making a wide corridor in which the students now stood. There must have been a dozen of them, and as the flashlight came on, they moved in on the students.
Nah, bro, what?
Screams bounced around the gym as the teachers attacked the students with knives and cleavers from the school kitchen. The sickening sound of metal-piercing flesh and blood spilling to the glossy gym floor unleashed a deep fear inside me. Since I'd stepped aside to the wall when I'd entered the gym, I was still in the dark. I stumbled back toward the door, watching in abject horror as knives
what am I
plunged into my
watching?
fellow students.
I'm so sorry.
Clammy, cold hands grabbed my shoulders. I panicked, throwing an elbow behind me and connecting with what felt like a nose and mouth. The hands came off of me as I turned around, seeing Mrs. Santiago standing there staring at me.
She's gonna transform
her
into
mouth
demon form.
split open and her nose bleeding. I shoved past her in the doorway, trying to get away from the gym, but she grabbed my left
her in the
arm
knee,
with her
bro.
right hand. At 18, I was much bigger and stronger than her. I shoved her as hard as I could. Something ripped, and she fell back against the gym door. But her hand still gripped my left arm above the elbow. I scrambled, pulling at her severed arm, ripping it off of me and throwing it at her feet. I ran, looking back over my shoulder as Mrs. Santiago stood there, seemingly unaware that she'd just had her arm removed, staring at me as I sprinted down the hallway. I ran for the nearest exit through the empty hallways, past dark classrooms. The lockdown alarm was still blaring, but I barely noticed it. The sound of my heart beating seemed louder than any alarm could ever be. I slowed as I passed Tom's classroom, clarity coming into my thoughts. I wanted to run out, but thinking of Tom and my other friends made me think of all the students that would be in danger if I just ran away. I approached Tom's classroom slowly, glancing through the slender window into the dark room. I thought I had seen Tom's 5th period teacher, Mr. Pelham, in the gym. So when I didn't see anyone in the classroom, I banged on the door. "Tom! I whispered loudly at the door between bangs. "Tom, it's me, Nate," I said. Tom appeared out of the darkness.
"Nate?"
He said through the closed door.
"What are you doing? It's lockdown, man."
"Where's your teacher?" I said.
"I don't know. He left like 5 minutes ago. Told us to stay put."
"Open the door. We've got to go," I said. "The teachers, they're killing people."
"What?"
Tom said, smiling.
"Tom,
Why is he smiling, bro?
This is serious."
I stepped back from the door and glanced both ways down the hall. I didn't see anyone. "I am serious," I said. "Everyone needs to leave. Come on." Tom reached for the door handle, but a voice from inside the classroom stopped him. I couldn't hear exactly what they said, but Tom's response gave me a clue.
"I know we're not supposed to open the door,
Tom said.
but this is Nate. He's no school shooter."
Tom opened the door and let me inside. I closed it behind me and looked into the darkness at the students sitting against the
Like, what could you possibly say to convince students that are in a lockdown that the safest thing for them to do is to run into the hallway and run out of the school when their whole lives they've been told to stay put exactly where they are? I don't know what you possibly can say.
"We need to go," I told them. "Now. Something is seriously wrong." "We're supposed to stay here," one girl whose name I didn't.
Shut up. Oh my God. We're supposed to stay. I would throw the nastiest elbow that you've ever seen. I'm just kidding. Everything I say is a joke.
"I'm telling you," I said. "The drills didn't have this in mind. It's the teachers. I watched them kill some of my classmates. There's something wrong with them. Haven't you noticed anything strange today?" I could see in their eyes that many of the students had noticed, but none of them moved. "All right, fine," I said. "I'll go get help. Tom, you gonna stay here or come with me?" "I'm with you, man," Tom said.
Where are you
looking scared.
going?
"Okay," I said to him. Then I turned to the other students. "Someone call 911 if you haven't already." "We have," someone said. "They have police on the way. Lock the door behind us," Tom said to the nearest student as we turned to the door.
Low key, if they have police on the way, it probably is safest then to stay in the room and just barricade the door.
It was tempting to hunker down and wait for the cops to show up, but seeing what I'd seen, there was no way I could do it. The teachers had keys to the classrooms after all. We'd be sitting ducks. I checked the
point.
hall before stepping out. Tom followed, shutting the door softly behind us. We booked it to the nearest exit and pushed on the metal bars to open the doors. They came open a few inches and stopped, the telltale rattle of chains coming from the outside. "They locked the doors," I said in a harsh whisper. "What the hell is going on here?" Tom said. I looked around. "Let's try the faculty area," I said, noticing that we were near the admin offices. "Maybe they left one of those unlocked." Tom nodded.
Low key though, like these demon teachers are kind of soft. Like our boy, elbow, push, GG to that old grandma. Now I know that she's an old grandma, but like if you're possessed by a demon, typically like you get super strength, super speed, all that stuff. But that grandma was chalked, bro. Like she was not strong at all. Her arm ripped off. She's super fragile. So like just saying, like these demons don't actually seem that strong. They're just super creepy and scary.
Moved cautiously through the
But we'll
halls
see.
toward
Maybe it was just the
admin,
grandma.
listening hard and keeping our eyes peeled. We ducked through the doors denoting the faculty area and saw a flickering orange light coming from the teacher's lounge. The door was closed, but, like most of the doors in the school, it had a thin rectangular window off-center through which the flickering light shone. I crept up to the door with Tom behind me. Taking a deep breath, I looked through the window. I saw a figure in the middle of the room staring right at me. I pulled my head back down. "What?" Tom said. "There's someone in there," I said, then stopped.
Is this some sort of
The image of the
seance? Like
figure in
what
the
is
room
going
took a
on?
moment to-
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I know what's happening. All the teachers are combining together. They all need to get one kill. They all kill their one thing, and then that unlocks something, and then, you know, they all are together now, and they're all combining to become one giant demon. That's it. I'm sure.
I stuck my head up again and looked through the window. The vice principal, a man named Ben Sheridan, was floating in the middle of the room, his legs and arms outstretched to make an X with his body. He was naked, and there was a short wooden spear jammed through his chest. The orange light was coming out of his eyes, nostrils, and wide open mouth, flickering as if from an inner fire. There were also red glowing words and symbols written on the floors and walls of the lounge.
Now question, do you go in there? Because my thought is like he's the key to all of this. You stop that, like he's controlling all the teachers. You stop him, it all stops. So what do you do?
Pulsating in time with the brighter light coming out of Sheridan's face. He floated just above a glowing circle on the floor, the edges of which were surrounded by strange symbols and words. I couldn't read any of the words because they were in another language, but the symbols looked like they'd been taken right out of a horror movie. "How is this happening?" Tom said, and I realized he was standing behind me, looking over my head through the window. He sounded on the verge of tears. "This isn't supposed to happen," he continued. "This isn't possible." "We need to get out of here," I said. "Now." We moved past the vice principal's office and the principal's office,
just
and
terrible
past the
for him.
admin office to the doors used by the faculty. I pushed on one of the doors, my hope disappearing as it, too, only opened partially before it was stopped by exterior chains. "The principal's office," I said. "Maybe the window's open, or we can break one." Tom nodded, following along, wringing his hands.
Is that not the same
As soon
room?
as we got into the office, I could tell that the windows weren't designed to open. I started looking around for something
Oh, I thought the principal's office was where the naked man was. He said it was the vice principal? I don't know.
heavy I could use to break one of the windows.
Take those
I
scissors.
located a heavy teaching award on the desk and picked it up. It was the shape of an apple attached to a wooden base. It weighed maybe 10 pounds. I glanced down at the desk plotter, noticing that it was a calendar. I looked at yesterday's date, reading a note there. Faculty meeting, 5:30 p.m. Something fell together in my mind. I was about to tell Tom about it when he spoke. "Someone's coming," he said in a harsh whisper. We ducked behind the principal's desk as a figure moved through the hall outside the office. I heard the door to the office open, and I clutched the award in my sweaty hands, mentally preparing myself to use it. "Nate Oshman?" a woman's voice said. "Is that you?" I stood up quickly, holding the heavy award over my head. It was Christina Henry, a pretty 20-something art teacher I'd had my junior year. "We need to get out of here," she said, holding up her hands.
How did she know? What?
"I don't know what's happening with the other teachers, but they're killing students." "Yeah, no shit," I said. Tom stood up, eyeing Christina nervously. She looked normal, and she sounded genuinely scared, but I wasn't about to let her near me. "Were you at the meeting yesterday?" I asked her, taking a shot in the dark. She looked at me with open curiosity. "The meeting? What are you talking about? Why is that important?" "Because I'm guessing that's the last time all the teachers were together in one room," I said. "Whatever happened to them, someone did it on purpose. You walked past the teacher's lounge. You must have seen it." "I was sick yesterday," Christina said, apparently seeing the logic in my thinking. "I missed it. Now, can we please get out of here? Whoever chained up the doors had to be able to get back in here somehow. I have a key to all the exterior doors. We can find the one and get out of here."
Why is she not saving all the other kids though? Like, I appreciate this teacher's dedication to saving these two, but like, what about the hundreds, potentially thousands of other kids that are in the school? Why is she spending so much time on just these two?
I glanced at Tom, who looked at me with wide eyes, which he shifted down toward the desk. He was trying to tell me something. "Let me think," I said to Christina, then looked down at the desk. Tom leaned down and put his hand on top of a clipboard on the desk. I glanced at it, seeing it was a list of names, teachers' names. At the top of the sheet, it read, "Faculty attendance." And right next to Tom's index finger was the name Christina Henry.
No.
Next to her name, a check mark. I looked back up to see that she had a gun in her hand.
Bruh.
"I like you guys."
What? I gotta settle down. I gotta settle down. I gotta settle down. I did not see that coming.
She said, dropping the scared tone. "I really would have let you go. You're both respectful students. You're not disruptive. I really wish you would have believed me." She raised the gun.
Bro.
I threw the heavy award at her, ducking as I did so. She fired the gun, but missed as she dodged out of the way of the teacher's award. Tom dove over the desk and tackled Christina, slamming her against the wall. They both fell in a tangle on the ground. Tom scrambled on top of her. She brought the gun up, but Tom caught her wrist with his
Let's
left
go,
hand.
Tom.
With his
W
right,
Tom, bro.
He reached out and grabbed the award, then slammed it down on her face once. That was all it took. Seeing what he'd done, he clambered off of her, as if she were hot to the touch. I stepped over to her and felt her pockets for the keys she spoke of. I found them and darted out of
This
the
is
office.
crazy.
Where are you going?
This is not at all what I thought we were getting into today, guys. I don't know if I should apologize or be like super happy. This is insane.
Tom cried. We need to stop this. I said over my shoulder.
They gotta work on the animation
I
for the
froze when we
run.
got into the hall. I could see through the doors to the faculty area that the hall was filled with teachers. They all had sharp implements in their hands, and they were all coated in blood. They stared at me blankly as they hurried down the hall. I ran toward them, stopping at the teacher's lounge. The doors to the faculty area were about 15 yards to my right. The teachers were 5 yards beyond that. I tried the knob to the teacher's lounge door, unsurprised to find it locked. Trying to calm my shaking hands, I fiddled with the keys, trying 2 of them before the doors opened to
He's
my
gotta
right.
stop naked,
I
man.
had time for 3 more out of the dozen on the key ring. To my left, Tom came out of the principal's office. "Oh, man," he said, looking at the dead-eyed teachers bearing down on me. "Run, Nate!" he cried. I slid a key into the knob and turned it, amazed to find that it actually worked. I'd found the key. I stepped into the room and picked up a chair from the wall just as the teachers crowded the doorway behind me. I stood outside the glowing circle on the ground and used the chair to shove the floating vice principal. I had to put all my strength into it, but it worked. As soon as he reached the opposite edge of the circle, he fell to the ground. Immediately, the glowing lights in his face disappeared, leaving only scorched black holes. The foreign words and symbols all over the floor, walls, and ceiling stopped glowing too. Behind me, I heard bodies falling to the floor. I turned around to see that all the teachers crowding the hallway were now sprawled out. I knew instinctively that they weren't unconscious. They were dead. They'd been dead all day. At least
That's why
now,
they stunk,
they
bro.
weren't trying to kill
They
us.
were rotting.
Behind us, outside the school, the sound of approaching sirens was like music to my ears.
I think that we just unlocked a whole new rabbit hole on YouTube. And to be honest, I think I love it. I really do. And if you guys enjoyed that as well, let me know by leaving a like, commenting what else I should watch, and hit that subscribe button because we're almost at 250K. Anyway, that's it. This was crazy. Thanks for watching.